Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 100 Pounders special focus meeting of Overeaters Anonymous. My name is Rita Q, and today it is the 9th of July, 2025. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome today Melissa C. Melissa has been given many years of service to OA, and I'm going to let her tell you all her experience, strength, and hope for the day. Take it away, Melissa.
Well, hey, thanks so much, Rita. Thanks, everybody. I'm Melissa C. I'm a recovered compulsive overeater. I am coming from New York in the United States, and yeah, really happy to be here today, and feel like a deep affection for speaking on this specific topic on, or this, iterate this variety of compulsive eating, because I qualify as a 100 pounder. I have been relieved of over 160 pounds of extra weight. I have lived in a normal sized body for many years now. And prior to that, I was constantly dieting, gaining, regaining, losing, but I was always gaining. And I just, even when in moments when the weight was off, food owned me. My obsession, I might have gotten thin for a second, hot second, but my brain was constantly locked in on food. I had no escape, no release, never, no matter what my body looked like. And today I don't live that way. Today, thank you, God, because that's really the only thing that did it. I don't have thoughts about eating outside of my abstinent food in my abstinent way. That is silent, and then it frees me up to actually have something else to offer the universe besides me, my weight, my body. So I always like to share my photos, and I change them up a little bit for I don't know. I shorten them actually, but and I wanna go through them. And the reason I always share my photos, I believe that I have a specific obligation. My photos are supposed to give hope to the still second suffering. That's the purpose of my photos. That to show everybody this is what God did for me. This is what God, this is the power that this big book, that I usually grab my book and I hold it up. I think I have it in the other room. But that's the power of um of of recovery. That's what God did for me. So, in the first picture in the red, I was having a party in my house that day. I'm like a freaking train wreck. I don't think I could brush my hair. I probably brushed my teeth. I might not have. Taking care of myself physically was a challenge. It was difficult to clean my body. That's the truth. That's where my house was a mess. I was a mess. And, if there's a pain, there's a specific pain with walking around allowing everybody in the world to see just how broken I am. I could not hide it, no matter how hard I tried. My body said something to the world about my out of control, and it hated that, hated that. In the picture, next to it, I am with my son, who's now 18. And what's so painful about this picture, I even see it in my face. I had such difficulty holding him because the bulk of my body made it hard for me to put my arms around this person that I loved more than anything and hold him. And I'm a hugger. I've always been a hugger, and it's painful not to be able to comfortably hold your own infant. And he was extraordinarily active. So I couldn't comfortably hold him, and I also couldn't chase him. I mean, this kid was running up and down the stairs at 9 months. So my body did not allow me to live in agreement with my purpose. And that is a horrible way to live. And when your body does not live in agreement with your purpose and you're a compulsive overeater, what do? Well, you keep on eating, because nothing so much as like numb the pain of living in morbid obesity than Ben and Jerry's. Like, that's the truth. And that's the way that I lived. I like to show these photos side by side. This was me, my husband, and my daughter. And you could see the misery in my face. I'm just miserable, you know. Um, and this is my daughter and I last year. You know, I always like to show the miracle of what happened. These are family photos. This was me with my daughter, my son, my husband. I actually, you can't see it in this picture, but I had a boot on my leg because I broke my leg. This was in a period where I was gonna exercise, and I was like hell bent on exercising. And but I'm still obese, and I had binged. I had broken my foot, and because I was running on a treadmill. I hurt my foot initially running on a treadmill at this weight. And I went to a doctor, I went to an orthopedic. They gave me injections in my foot. They said, it's going to feel better. Do not get on that treadmill again. You have flat feet. You're overweight. You should never be running on a treadmill like that. And I ate. I had overeaten. I had some relief from the injection. Couple weeks later, I binged, and what did I do? I got on that friggin' treadmill and I put it up to the highest incline because I know better. Apparently, I know better. And I ran and I heard my foot snap. And then the humiliation of having to go back to the doctor. And he's like, you did what? Like I was a moron. Like really, like I was a moron. And that's what it felt like. Like I couldn't live in agreement with my own intellectual knowledge, right? That's powerlessness. And there's a more recent family photo. My daughter, my daughter-in-law, my son, my hubby, and I, maybe 2 years ago or a year and a half. Yeah. And here's again, I always like to show that picture again. And this is the same kid. This was us last month at his prom. We took a picture outside together. Now I can easily, if he lets me, I can put my arms around him when he lets me and I give him a big, tight hug. But now I have to like reach up, now I have to reach up. Um, and and here's same kid also, side by side photos. And you could see right there I am at New Year's in that leopard sweater. It was like one of the few things that fit me. Hubby holding him because I could barely hold him. And this is us at in middle school, some award that he got. And this was like at his 18th birthday. So I've been consistently for years now, the same size, which is another miracle, truly miraculous. And there's hubby and I. This was us. We ate out all the time. In my disease, I thought I liked restaurants. I thought they were fun. But they really weren't. What it was I always think about in Bill's story when he talks about golfing and he talks about, playing golf. He didn't talk about the love of the sport. He didn't talk about, like that he was passionate about the game. What he talked about was that it allowed him to like drink. He could do it and drink. Well, going out to dinner felt very social. It felt like what we did, but really all it was it allowed me to eat and drink because I drank a lot. And here now, when food is not my master, I actually found out what it is I love to do. I always loved music. I love concerts. I love outdoor music festivals. I like to dance. I'm like a lover of the Grateful Dead. I used to travel all over the country seeing them. And now, like, we get to do that. We get to do that all the time, not see the Dead, but, other Dead type bands. And when we did actually go down to Vegas last year. I go anywhere, anywhere. I'm a free woman. The funny thing is I go anywhere. I don't know if you could see it in this photo, probably in the bottom. You might catch a glimpse of my lunchbox because what I do is like my food is so uninteresting. It is not my recreation anymore. I kind of pack my little cooler, my lunchbox. I go anywhere. And I kind of eat that way and I get to enjoy a big, beautiful life. So those are my photos. And so like the purpose of sharing them, like I said, was if, you know, if you've been given a visible miracle, which is what I've had. I've had a miraculous thing that happened inside me, but I also get to walk around in a body that speaks of miracles. And so I believe I have an obligation to share that, especially with those that might be stuck in a body that's screaming to the world, I'm sick and I need help. And so I want to always offer hope. That's the purpose. In fact, that's my prayer whenever, before I came on and spoke this morning, for me, it's this morning. Um, I have a specific prayer. I ask God, God, please come in and put the words in my brain that you have in store. And please let me say the things that are going to reach the person who you have brought here. Ready their ears, get their ears ready to hear it, and help me say it in a way that's irresistible. Help me say it in a way that could be useful and irresistible to you. And so that's really my charge here today. So, there's a problem oftentimes I face with selling a miracle in other avenues, especially when I come across people who are not 100-pounders. They might not be able to understand the necessity of a miracle, right? They might think, oh, yeah, no, I get it for her, because, she was really big. And, but thankfully, like, I don't have to worry about that here, right? I don't have to worry about it here because if you've decided to come here, you understand what it means, perhaps, um, what it's like to live in that, and not only the bondage of the food, but the bondage of a body, living in the bondage of a body. And so my whole life, I want to talk about the solution. And, you know, my entire life, I have struggled with this. And I just want to share this other little kind of story that I often tell, which tells about my thinking. When I was a little girl, I'm the youngest of 5 children. My mom on Friday nights would bring out this, and it was always Friday night. My mother would bring out a particular cake. And one time I said to my husband, we were talking about who we are, I don't know. And I said, listen, all my early memories are about food. All my early memories are about food. And my husband said, yeah, I don't know that that's what our difference is. He's like, because I have so many food memories. And then he started telling me his food memories. And every one of his food memories were happy. I could see the way he told them. He was like, my grandmother used to make this, and my mom made that. And my early food memories are not of that. They are of longing. They are of an unquenchable desire for more. So my mom would take out this cake on Friday nights, every Friday night. And from the time I was a little girl, before my piece was cut, I knew it wasn't going to be enough. I was already like wanting, I go like this because I can feel that feeling inside. I was already wanting to get to the fridge, to get to the leftovers by myself. I'd be watching them cut up the cake thinking, oh, good, there's some left. And I would go into the kitchen in the middle of the night. I knew how to get to the kitchen without making those floorboards creak. I was like on a mission, quickly, quietly. No one should hear me. I could open the fridge without the light coming on. I could squeeze my little fingers in there. I could get to the cake. I was constantly, I'd have to get the sponge and wipe up the mess underneath the refrigerator. I mean, I remember doing this over and over. And I remember a particular night where I kept cutting slice after slice after slice until ate the whole cake. And then I had to get rid of the box. As a kid, I had to figure out how to get rid of this box. Well, the next morning, I remember laying in bed, hearing my family searching for the cake and everybody blaming everybody for the cake. And the shame, the humiliation, I just wanted to die. I just like that feeling inside. And so I would have said to you many years ago, well, if they just would have let me eat as much as I wanted, I wouldn't have had this problem. See, I have this problem because they restricted me. And that's a lie. They restricted me because they loved me. And they were like, holy smokes, this kid's eating way too much food. This isn't healthy. And she's getting heavy. It was out of love and concern and care. By the way, even if it wasn't, even if their motives were horrific, I'm going to tell you something. The solution, which is now hopefully going to land on, the solution is not to figure out why you have this problem. It's unimportant, inconsequential. In fact, it's an immature question. And then there's a solution. It says this: opinions vary considerably as to why the alcoholic reacts differently from normal people. We are not sure why. Once a certain point is reached, little can be done for him. We cannot answer the riddle. So it's a waste of time. Overeaters Anonymous is not about uncovering who did this to you. It's about accepting the fact that I'll speak for myself, that I am different. I am not like normal men. Don't know how it happened. Doesn't matter how it happened, but it's the truth. Now what am I going to do about it? Now what am I going to do about it? And so why I have this question, why I have this problem, irrelevant, right? The better question is, what am I going to do about it? And, and so I really, if in order for me to solve the problem, I actually have to know specifically what my problem is. I have to know it, admit it, and I almost say like embrace it, like wear it like my truth. So here's my problem. In the doctor's opinion, it states it. It's on page XXX. It says, I cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving. This phenomenon, as we have suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy, which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. It has never been, by any treatment with which we are familiar, permanently eradicated. The only relief we have to suggest is entire abstinence. So I have an allergy. That's my problem, that it doesn't present itself as a rash. It doesn't present itself as breathing problems. I don't get congested, right? What happens for me is I get an insatiable desire for more. There is nothing I can do about that. If I eat certain foods and certain food behaviors, I have a whole list of foods that are problematic for me. But on top of them, I also have food behaviors that trigger the same allergic response. And I'll just share, Overeaters Anonymous is not Sugar Addicts Anonymous. I do have a very severe problem with sugar. In addition to that, I have a very severe problem with overeating. I'm an overeater. And what that tells me is part of my step one, part of my understanding what my allergy is I cannot eat excess food, which means I have to weigh and measure my food. And I also, because I'm a compulsive eater, I also cannot eat impulsively, because impulsive eating for me leads to compulsive eating. That's part of my alcoholic food behavior. So I don't say, I'm a little hungry right now. I'm having a hankering for, It could be carrots, it could be broccoli, it could be whatever. I don't eat that way. I don't eat that way because it triggers that allergic response in me. And I had to beat my head against the wall to come to admit that one. I didn't like that one. That one is a hard one because not everybody has that one, but I do. And that's who I am. And so I have this allergy, and no matter how much weight I've lost or my length of abstinence, this allergy can never be eradicated. Now, if my problem was only that I had an allergy, then all I'd have to do is stay away from the food. All I'd have to do is just weigh and measure for the rest of my life, stay away from the food, and I'd be good to go. But I have an even greater problem. And here's my greater problem, is that I have a mind that tells me I don't have this problem. Or tells me I can control this problem, or tells me this problem is not that serious, or tells me, yeah, that's pretty severe way to live, Melissa. That's extreme. You don't really have to do all that. Or here's the worst thing that my mind will tell me: who cares? Who cares? Because when I have reached the point of complete, utter desperation, my mind will say things like, you don't even care. Who cares? How do you fight that? You can't. Unfortunately, you can't, right? That's where we need to have an intervention. That's where only an act of providence, that's where only God can enter. And more about alcoholism, it says, our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking, in my case, my eating, is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. So, my great obsession is not necessarily food. My great obsession is this thing that says, I can control it and I can enjoy it. I can control it and I can enjoy it. And it will come in on all sorts of ways. It will come in typical way, it'll come in on a holiday, on nostalgia. It'll say, oh, come on. Everybody's eating that today. I just want to feel love and connection with my family. It'll be okay today. It's Christmas. It'll be okay today. It's Easter. It'll be okay today. It's name the holiday, right? Or it'll come in on vacation. It'll come in on we're just hanging out. It'll come in on they love me. They made it for me. How could I possibly say no? It'll come in on I can eat that. That's abstinent food anyway. I'll just switch it out. I can't do that. I can't do that. I have to think about it like this. I got this little dog here. I love my little dog. Um, my little dog, God bless him, he eats the same brand of dog food, even if it's Christmas. And I love my dog, right? Even if I'm bringing him, if I go to my daughter's house for the day and we bring each other our dogs and hang out, I actually pack my dog's dog food in a little baggie, because what will happen to my sweet little dog if he eats her dog's brand of dog food? He'll get sick. I'd say sick as a dog, right? I have to sort of understand I am that broken. I am that sick. I don't fight it anymore. That's my step one understanding. But I also have another piece to my step one is, it talks about being distinct, that I am a distinct entity, that it can never be eradicated, that can't be erased. And one of the things that I think is helpful is, I always take this piece of paper, especially if I'm going to kind of illustrate it for someone, is I take a piece of paper and I fold it in half. Take this piece of paper, I fold it in half, and I make a really crisp line like this, right? I make like a really, like, here I go. That's me. And I open it up and then I say, okay, I'm a distinct entity. I live on this side of the page. For me, I got to weigh and measure my food. For me, I cannot eat certain foods. For me, I got an inventory. For me, I must have a spiritual experience. I must live in relationship with God. For me, I cannot be dishonest. For me, I've got to do service. I have like a lengthy list of things that, because I'm distinct, I know will help keep me in God's protection, right? And then there's the rest of the world. What they can do and what they can't do, God love them, is none of my business. None of my business. My greatest difficulty is when I think, well, I look like them. Let me flatten this out a little bit, right? I look just like them, right? I'm a normal size. I'm a normal body. I wear a bathing suit just like anybody else. I can move. I can hug my kid. I can go anywhere. I ought to be able to do what these people do. My greatest difficulty is when I start thinking that I can hang out on the side of the page with normal people, that I can do what they can do. But if you notice, that line can never be eradicated. No matter how much I flatten it out, it's there. It is forever there. Never can be permanently eradicated. I am different. I'm different. And here's the good news I'll share with all of you. The whole rest of the world can live on that side of the page. But right now there's 118 folks here. 100, yeah. And you all live on the same side of the page as me. So I don't have to worry about being alone. I got a lifetime of companionship. I got fellowship. I got people that can help, that hang out on the side of the page with me. So I'm good to go. I don't have to feel sorry for myself anymore, right? That's my step one understanding. And when I understand that about myself, doing the rest of the work is not so difficult. All right. So step two is form your own conception. It says that in the book. And, for me, I wasn't really interested in God too much when I came in. I wasn't. I had I'm like a smarty pants. That's me. I'm a smarty pants. And I remembered reading, okay, my mind is broken. I got that. God, step one. I've got a broken mind. Got it. Now you want me to take my broken mind, and it says, create your own conception. Wait, I can make up God with my broken mind? I don't get it. That makes no sense. Well, I'm going to share something with you. First of all, that's kind of true. That is true. It doesn't make sense, right? Because conception is not the same as concept. And I didn't realize that for a long time. It does not say I can make up any old God. I think there's some misinformation, and I always kind of want to clear it up gently. Doorknob is not God. Neither is the fellowship, because the book actually gives me characteristics that help me form a conception. And the book tells me, and I normally hold up the book. If you're going to be a practitioner of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous gives you characteristics of a higher power, gives me things that help me form the conception. Conception means a start, a birth, a beginning. Well, it tells me it's got to be a power that cares about me. Otherwise, how am I going to turn my will and my life over to it if it doesn't care about me? And it has to be something that has incredible power. And I love you all right here. Remember, you're on this side of the page with me, but you don't have power because you're human. Just like I don't have power. I'm just human. And well, a doorknob, come on, folks. Like, I got a doorknob here. I could hold that doorknob for the rest of my life. It never gave me freedom from food. Makes no sense. But I can make a conception. I can make a start. And what happened for me was, in my arrogant thinking, when I heard, like, how's my broken mind going to come up with a God? Well, I heard this thing, for me, I heard the voice of my dad, who had passed away. And what I heard was, don't be so smart. You want to get better or not? And I think we could all just start right there. Don't start trying to figure out how God couldn't do this for you, because I got nothing else. And when people say to me, I don't believe in God, that's not a problem. Having a difficulty believing is not a problem at the start. But we agnostics in the book comes before the directions for a reason. Because we have to make a decision, and we agnostics, either God is everything or God is nothing. What's your choice going to be? And I was told like this: you want to get better or not? That was the voice I heard. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I want to get better. Then let's go with the assumption that God is. Let's go with it. And then let's take action as though you actually believe that. And you know what? We can actually begin right there. When people say, I don't believe in God, I always ask the follow-up question: do you want to? Do you want to? Because if you don't want to, then the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is not necessarily going to be your solution. I don't know what is. But the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous says that this book was written to enable you to find a power greater than yourself. Doesn't have to be my power, but it's got to be some power. And I began working there. And step 3, I know I got like 15 seconds left. It's crazy. How do I always run out of time? But I always run out of time. I turned my will and my life over to the care of something that wasn't killing itself with Ben and Jerry's. And I started seeking spiritual direction. And I'm sure I'll get a chance to, at some point, to finish it all through. And with that, I pass. Thanks.
Oh, Melissa, thank you so much. What a message of depth and weight. And I just wanted to read a little bit out of the big book that described your little page analogy very well. Page 427, it's window of opportunity. And the writer said, I had my first awakening in AA. The speaker said, if you're an apple, you can be the best apple you can be, but you'll never be an orange. I was an apple, all right, and for the first time I understood. I had spent my life trying to be an orange. I looked around at a room filled with apples, and if I was understanding the speaker, most of them were no longer trying to be oranges.